Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a fun card for you today. I'm going to be showing you some of the coloring techniques. There's embossing and inking, and as you can see, lots of shimmer and sparkle. I hope that if you're not subscribed already, you'll click subscribe and also give me a like on this video if you like it. I'm going to be focusing on the Elegant Peacock stamp set from Close to My Heart. As soon as I saw this one in the catalog, I knew I wanted to do something fun with it, and I'm finally getting around to doing that today. I have a few other samples of techniques I've used with this set. They're just not completed cards. So I'm going to show you the run through for this of how to make this, but I also wanted to show you, I used the shin hand markers on this one. And then I also used a little shimmer pen, the embossing. So there's something just a little bit different. This one I just embossed with the silver Tinsel embossing powder, which we are going to use a little bit on this card, but I did the whole peacock in it. That is like super sparkly. And then this one I embossed in white and then used my inking tool and inked over top with emerald, peacock, and pansy Close to My Heart inks. And then this kind of like water splotch look I actually got by using the My Acrylic Spritz, which is meant for cleaning your stamps. I just sprayed it into my hand and flicked it onto this piece, and that gave me those nice little water droplet look on there. So there's so many different things you can do with this set. I'm going to focus on the one that I actually turned into a card. So we're going to start off with the peacock itself, and then I'll show you some of the techniques I used in the background. So I have emerald ink, peacock ink, and sapphire. And then I also have sponge daubers here because that is how I'm going to actually apply the ink. So you do want to move fairly quickly on this step. So I'm just going to take my inks out here so that they are ready to roll. And I'm not fumbling around trying to get inks open and everything. So I'm going to take my dauber and I'm going to pounce it on my image. Probably like the top 1/3. Okay, and then I'm going to switch here to peacock ink in the middle, and I'm just slightly overlapping those colors so that they'll blend together a little bit. And then I'm going to use sapphire on the bottom. Now I'm going to use Archival black, and I'm going to stamp up the layers image, which actually has all the feather detail on it. And there we go. Now you can see that I didn't get the ends 100% lined up. I was paying more attention to getting my top perfectly lined up, but when it's all said and done, I don't think it'll matter too much because you can see on this one how they're kind of, you know, they're not 100% meant to line up. They just kind of are in that general area to add color to the feathers. Now I'm going to use Archival ink again, and I'm going to use the top of the peacock. Now the reason I'm using Archival ink is because one, I am going to use some watercolor on here, and two, because it's nice and black, nice and dark and black, and gives a very crisp image. Okay, and there's the top. Now you can see I'm off just slightly, but I will show you how to fix that. All right, so if you have little things like this where it doesn't 100% line up, I'm just taking a black pen and I'm just going to even that up. And no one would ever know the difference. Now I'm going on to the top of the peacock, and I'm actually going to be using these watercolor pencils. Close to My Heart sells these as well. And I've just picked out a few colors. They're not marked, so I can't tell you exactly which colors they are, but I have a nice deep blue, a purple, and a teal, and a yellow. So those are the colors that I'm going to use. And then I also have the small water brush, has a nice fine tip on it. I'm going to add a couple of layers for the top part of this peacock. I'm just going to start by coloring really lightly. I don't want to add a lot of pressure. I'm just going to add really light pressure just to get an initial layer of color down. This is going to be my lightest all over color. And then I'm going to use my water brush just to blend it out. You do want to make sure your ink is dry before you do this so that you're not smearing that black ink around, but it shouldn't take long to dry at all. Now to go in and layer more color, rather than drying that or waiting for it to dry, what I'm going to do is go in, take my water brush right on my pencil like this, and drop that darker color right where I want it. And then you'll see as I move farther away, I blend it out. So same thing, I'm going to go back, grab a little bit more. And you can always wipe off your brush if you have too much water or there's too much pigment and it's dragging out farther than you want it to. Now keep in mind, if you want to keep layering colors, you'll want to dry that and then come back to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on now down to this next part. This is part of the wing. And this one I kind of blended the blue and the purple together. So I'm going to switch about halfway through here to my purple. I'm going to go back, pick up color right on my water brush again, and add it right down here where I want it to be the darkest. And then I'm going to grab some purple. I'm trying to leave the center portion the lightest. And I'm also trying not to drench my paper because this is not watercolor paper. This is just regular white cardstock. If you use watercolor paper, you will probably have a little bit more forgiveness as far as blending and moving the colors. It tends to be a little bit easier to do that. But I wanted to show you just on regular white cardstock. So now I'm going in and just adding some teal. And I'm going to mix that with the blue as well. Remember, this is my first layer, so it's not super dark. And this little spot back here, I'm going to add some blue as well. And then the teal. All right, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to dry it and show you my last step to that shading part. All right, so I have my yellow here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow to the beak. And then I'm going to go through just with a dry pencil. You could even use colored pencil for this. And I'm just going to go through, and starting in those darkest areas, I am going to add some strokes of this, making sure to keep it kind of in the darker areas and just bring it slightly into the lighter areas. This also gives your image more texture. Depends if you want that or not, if you want it to be smooth. So there are two images on here that are meant for the tail. There's one that's a little bit larger that kind of has almost teardrop shapes. And there's one that is more like little specks. So I'm going to do the larger image first. And that one I actually did in the gold tinsel embossing powder. This is by Ranger, but we also carry it in the catalog. So I have the gold and I have silver. So I'm going to use the gold one first for the larger area. And first I'm going to use my anti-static pouch just to remove any static. My inks should be dry. These inks don't stay wet for a very long time, so they should be dry by now and good to add embossing powder. I'm also going to use Versamark. And then I'm just going to ink up with Versamark. This is a little bit trickier as far as figuring out where to stamp. I try and line up these bottom feathers since they're the easiest ones to see. And then you just kind of have to commit and go for it. I'm just going to cover this. Yeah, we did pretty good. So I just heat set that off camera. You can see when it's heat set because it will have that nice metallic twinkle to it. And now I'm going to grab the other image that has the smaller dots, and I'm going to do that one in silver. And I just heat set that, the silver, so now you can see the silver and the gold on there. I love those embossing powders, you guys. I have been using them a lot. I used them a lot at Christmas. Then I kind of took a little break and now I'm right back into using them as much as possible. So now our peacock is done. I'm going to cut it out by hand off camera. I'm not going to make you watch me fussy cut that. I just like to use our non-stick scissors. They got a nice sharp point on them. So I'm going to trim that out and then I'll be right back. So here's my little peacock all cut out. I just left a very thin border around the outside, just a little bit of white to frame him. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did on the background before we do these little pieces for the top part. So you're going to want a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is just regular white daisy cardstock. And I'm going to run my anti-static powder tool all over this because we are going to emboss it. And I'm also using white embossing powder, another coffee filter here to catch my extras. And then my Versamark again. And I'm going to use the feather image, I want to say leaf, feather image from the set that's the largest one. With this, my goal is just going to be to stamp them in all kinds of directions, stamp them off the edge. And you should be able to look into the light and see the reflection of where you've already stamped the ink so that you can keep track and you're not stamping over top of where you've been already. If you're having trouble seeing it, you can always put some embossing powder on top of it. And then you can see where it sticks, and that should help you. So I'm working around the outside primarily because the inside is going to all be covered. So there's not really a point in doing a whole bunch on the inside, like middle part of the piece. But it's good to make sure you go off the edge and make it look like the pattern continues. Oh, I know this is white on white, but hopefully now you can see the shine from the melted embossing powder. So we have our background here to work with. I'm just gonna flip that around. And I'm going to use emerald ink again, but with a different tool. So I'm actually going to use my mini distress ink tool. I like this because of the round surface. I find it's easier to blend, and I find it a little bit easier than a finger dauber to do like larger areas. So I'm going to ink that up. I'm just going to move my finished card off so that it doesn't get all inky. And I'm going to start from the edge on my mat, working in circles, bringing the color inwards. This is our finished panel. So now we have a finished peacock and our background. So we just have 2 more steps to do. This is for the little splatter on here. What I'm going to use is a clear shimmer brush. And I'm also going to use my Pansy Ink Pad. So I'm just going to press that down, get some ink on my mat there. It's probably hard to see. And then I'm going to squeeze some of this clear shimmer brush into that ink. And then I have a little paintbrush here. I'm just going to use that to mix the shimmer. And we'll see if that's runny enough, if I have enough liquid. So I'm going to take my panel and I'm just going to flick the little dots on there. There we go. The less moisture you have on there, the smaller your little flicks are going to be. The smaller the paintbrush you use, the smaller the flicks are going to be. If you want bigger spots, you would need more liquid and probably even a bigger brush, so you could get like big paint splatters on there, but I just wanted some fine splatters for this. And we're going to work on our last little piece here, which is our sentiment piece. And I'm going to use the anti-static tool on this again. And I'm going to use the silver Tinsel embossing powder and my Versamark because we're going to emboss. I just love that Tinsel embossing powder. The finished product, it looks like you've used glitter. So I just cannot get enough of that. Now it is assembly time. We have all our pieces. We can put it together. Sorry if you guys hear the thunder in the background. It just started thunderstorming outside. So I'm going to use my ATG tape to put my background piece on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white card base. I'll just line that up. Okay, and then I have my little speckled panel here. I'm going to use pop dots. That's just going to go right dead center. And I'm going to use ATG again on this little strip. And I'm going to put it, I think, right around there. I'm not going to push it down yet. I want to make sure this is going to work with my peacock. Yeah. So for the peacock, I want to put him on with another layer of foam, but I don't want it to be so super high. So we have thin 3D foam dots. So what I'm going to do is put those on the head part, the part that's going to be overlapping this bit, and down here on the tail as well. And then over on this other half that will be hanging off the edge, I'm going to use some of the higher pop dots. See if that works. Yes, it does. And then I'm going to stack the thinner ones on top of them. All right, there we go. There are the finished cards. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're looking for any of these supplies, I will have them linked down in the description box below. Those links do go to my website. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.